People understand me so poorly that they don't even understand my complaint about them not understanding me. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, the other is to refuse to believe what is true. The most common form of despair is not being who you are. It is perfectly true, as philosophers say, that life must be understood backwards. But they forget the other proposition, that it must be lived forwards. The greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur very quietly in the world, as if it were nothing at all. No other loss can occur so quietly. Any other loss, an arm, a leg, $5, a wife, etc., is sure to be noticed. I see it all perfectly. There are two possible situations. One can either do this or that. My honest opinion and my friendly advice is this: do it or do not do it. You will regret both. What labels me negates me. The most painful state of being is remembering the future, particularly the one you'll never have. In addition to my other numerous acquaintances, I have one more intimate confidant. My depression is the most faithful mistress I have known. No wonder, then, that I return the love. What if everything in the world were a misunderstanding? What if laughter were really tears? Love is the expression of the one who loves, not of the one who is loved. Those who think they can love only the people they prefer do not love at all. Love discovers truths about individuals that others cannot see. Once you label me, you negate me. To dare is to lose one's footing momentarily. Not to dare is to lose oneself. The tyrant dies and his rule is over, the martyr dies and his rule begins. To venture causes anxiety, but not to venture is to lose oneself. And to venture in the highest is precisely to be conscious of oneself. Face the facts of being what you are, for that is what changes what you are. God creates out of nothing. Wonderful, you say. Yes, to be sure, but he does what is still more wonderful. He makes saints out of sinners. To cheat oneself out of love is the most terrible deception. It is an eternal loss for which there is no reparation, either in time or in eternity. If anyone on the verge of action should judge himself according to the outcome, he would never begin. The proud person always wants to do the right thing, the great thing. But because he wants to do it in his own strength, he is fighting not with man, but with God. Many of us pursue pleasure with such breathless haste that we hurry past it. The highest and most beautiful things in life are not to be heard about, nor read about, nor seen, but, if one will, are to be lived. It is perhaps the misfortune of my life that I am interested in far too much, but not decisively in any one thing. All my interests are not subordinated in one but stand on an equal footing. It is so hard to believe because it is so hard to obey. Boredom is the root of all evil, the despairing refusal to be oneself. One must not think slightingly of the paradoxical, for the paradox is the source of the thinker's passion, and the thinker without a paradox is like a lover without feeling, a paltry mediocrity. It is impossible to exist without passion. There is nothing with which every man is so afraid as getting to know how enormously much he is capable of doing and becoming. How absurd men are! They never use the liberties they have, they demand those they do not have. They have freedom of thought, they demand freedom of speech. It is the duty of the human understanding to understand that there are things which it cannot understand. The self-assured believer is a greater sinner in the eyes of God than the troubled disbeliever. I feel as if I were a piece in a game of chess when my opponent says of it, that piece cannot be moved. The thing is to understand myself. The thing is to find a truth which is true for me, to find the idea for which I can live and die. That is what I now recognize as the most important thing. Leap of faith, yes, but only after reflection. Why bother remembering a past that cannot be made into a present? On the secretly blushing cheek is reflected the glow of the heart. Happiness is the greatest hiding place for despair. My sorrow is my castle. It is very important in life to know when your cue comes. I stick my finger into existence and it smells of nothing. Take away paradox from the thinker and you have a professor. A no does not hide anything, but a yes very easily becomes a deception. Once you are born in this world, you're old enough to die. Every mental act is composed of doubt and belief. But it is belief that is the positive, it is belief that sustains thought and holds the world together. And this is one of the most crucial definitions for the whole of Christianity, that the opposite of sin is not virtue but faith. Hope is a passion for the possible. My melancholy is the most faithful sweetheart I have had. Therefore do not deceive yourself. Of all deceivers fear most yourself. Now, with God's help, I shall become myself. The task must be made difficult, for only the difficult inspires the noble-hearted. My standpoint is armed neutrality. The present state of the world and the whole of life is diseased. If I were a doctor and were asked for my advice, I should reply, create silence. What looks like politics, and imagines itself to be political, will one day unmask itself as a religious movement. The only intelligent tactical response to life's horror is to laugh defiantly at it. Your own tactic is to train yourself in the art of becoming enigmatic to everybody. My young friend, suppose there was no one who troubled himself to guess your riddle. What joy, then, would you have in it? To have faith is precisely to lose one's mind so as to win God. It belongs to the imperfection of everything human that man can only attain his desire by passing through its opposite. Adversity draws men together and produces beauty and harmony in life's relationships, just as the cold of winter produces ice flowers on the window panes, which vanish with the warmth. In my great melancholy, I loved life, for I love my melancholy. My melancholy is the most faithful mistress I have known. What wonder, then, that I love her in return? What is existence for but to be laughed at if men in their 20s have already attained the utmost? People understand me so little that they do not even understand when I complain of being misunderstood. It is a frightful satire and an epigram on the modern age that the only use it knows for solitude is to make it a punishment, a jail sentence. What is youth? A dream. What is love? The dream's content. To be lost in spiritlessness is the most terrible thing of all. For he who loves God without faith reflects on himself, while the person who loves God in faith reflects on God. For love is exultant when it unites equals, but it is triumphant when it makes that which was unequal equal in love. The stone that was rolled before Christ's tomb might appropriately be called the philosopher's stone because its removal gave not only the Pharisees but, now for 1800 years, the philosophers so much to think about. Faith is the highest passion in a human being. Many in every generation may not come that far, but none comes further. Since my earliest childhood a barb of sorrow has lodged in my heart. As long as it stays I am ironic, if it is pulled out I shall die. When one has once fully entered the realm of love, the world, no matter how imperfect, becomes rich and beautiful. It consists solely of opportunities for love.